It's almost time for Fog to go into a brand new year in professional wrestling. 2003 is upon us. It's a controversial year. It's a year that some people love. It's a year that some people say was one of the worst years in wrestling history. We're going to find out. But before we dive into 2003, it is time for the 2002 End of Year Awards. And we're going to kick off with a simple question, a 50-50, a one brand or another brand. There's no real multiple choice here. There's two options. It's either the red brand of Raw or the blue brand of Smackdown. We're asking which brand was better in 2002. We've got 447 votes. It was extremely close. I imagine this will be the closest vote that we have in all these awards. But just winning it, pipping it, with 52% is Monday Night Raw. The A show, the live show, and the show that, in our opinion, is overall the better show. But what's your thoughts on it?
Well, it's a simple choice between red or blue. For me, I would agree. I think it's Raw. I'm surprised SmackDown didn't win, though. A lot of people do think SmackDown, especially SmackDown 6, you've got Brock Lesnar, Taker, etc., on SmackDown. But what you've got to bear in mind is, like, even Brock Lesnar and Taker, they were on Raw for a decent period as well.
I'd say half the year.
Yeah, and I think
It was only the late. It was probably only the later.
I think Taker's best spell easily was on Raw, and you got to factor things like that in. But for me, both shows were great in spells, but I think what was worse, I think it's easily SmackDown. Raw had bad periods, right? With, like, Austin against Flair. That was bad, I do think. But I look at some of the stuff SmackDown did. I look at the segment where they brought out the woman that Taker had a fling with.
God.
I mean, what are we doing there? You've got the same SmackDown 6 matches sometimes, like, on repeat. Which is boring. It really was. Big Show coming out. Oh, A-Train. Things like that towards the end of the year. And I feel like just after I think after The Rock and Hogan left, SmackDown and Triple H left, that it just derailed. It did.
Yeah, I think Raw.
The turning point was that. No, it was, right? SmackDown lost the likes of The Rock. It lost Triple H. It lost Hogan. Raw gained Bischoff.
Aye, for me that was a turning point. I think since Bischoff came in, I think Raw was the far superior show.
Yeah. You can bury Triple H, but it gave us Triple H holding the belt, and it gave us him against Michaels. SmackDown did get Taker Brock. Love their Hell in a Cell match, right? And Brock, I mean, every time he had a match, I thought it was good, but I think the actual storylines behind the scenes sucked. I think Matt Hardy, real plus point of SmackDown.
I like John Cena too.
Yep.
I think John Cena coming into it the longer the year went on. But nah, for me, I think Raw was the more consistent show. I think from start to finish, I look at if you look at the match cards, if you look at the programs for the full 2 hours, I just think Raw is stronger.
Yep. Raw Roulette, brilliant show. Christian, Jericho, Booker T, Goldust. Now, there was a bit of repetitiveness in there as well, but nowhere near the same amount as SmackDown 6, man. Kurt Angle and Edge and Kurt Angle and Benoit, it was like Kurt Angle and Benoit are going to be taking each other on at the pay-per-view, but they're going to have a match on SmackDown for the next 3 weeks too, brother. What? Come on.
Yeah, and plus, I don't know, I think the SmackDown 6, I think it did more to drag down Angle than it did to propel anyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Edge who came in, had that feud with Angle, he was looking good. Ray came in, you got Benoit as a top guy, and then you just start putting them in tag team matches with Chavo Guerrero, and it took guys that I think should have been heading towards the main event scene, and it just brought them down into like the mid-card.
Eric Bischoff smoked Stephanie McMahon out the water as well.
Yeah, but we'll see what you guys say. There was 11 comments, let's get into them. Red Bine said, yeah, Raw by a long shot, now Raw is trash, but back in the days, fire. Yeah. Look, yeah, I agree. If I was rating Raw for 2002, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. I think SmackDown, I'd probably give like maybe a 6. Maybe a 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because, I can't complain with that analysis.
Christian Barrero says, I always like more Raw because of their edgier content and the wrestlers were in that show. The only thing I hated from Raw was the Triple H Reign of Terror. I do think Raw was a more edgier show. And there's other things I prefer. I prefer the women's division. I can't believe people probably think, holy shit, Fogg hates women. I prefer the women's division over the cruiserweight division.
Yeah,
I just do. Especially the women's division back in this era. I prefer the Raw commentary team. I prefer the Raw general manager. So, I mean, you've got those things. I mean,
and also, but the Triple H Reign of Terror, right, it's not really into it in 2002.
Yeah.
You know, he lost it. He only had two defences, against RVD.
2003 is more like the Reign of Terror.
Yeah, 2003 is the full year, pretty much. I know he loses to Goldberg, but that's it, really.
Yeah, BD Cool says, couldn't afford Sky Sports back in those days. All the better talent seemed to be on Raw, which used to get shown on a Friday night. I remember that. Was only able to watch SmackDown on Saturday mornings on Sky One, which is a big reason why I hated the brand split.
That is groundbreaking, though.
I remember that. I remember that back in the day. It was actually great because you got Raw on a Friday and SmackDown on a Saturday. So within like a 12-hour period, you were actually getting to watch both shows. It was fucking great. 4 hours of wrestling within a 12-hour period, and it was great wrestling.
Wish I could remember it. I was there. I just can't remember it.
LT212 said Raw started off better after the draft, but by the end of the year, SmackDown was the better brand.
I think it's the opposite.
I think it's the opposite. Yeah,
definitely the opposite.
I think it's the opposite. Because Raw, see, after the brand split, man, Raw, Ric Flair I thought was a terrible GM. The waste at Austin, the NWO got so fucking diluted. It was like, Big Show in it, man. Like, what the hell? I thought Raw was pish.
It was, and obviously for the first couple of months, the world title feud kind of took place over both shows.
Yeah, but all the big stuff seemed to be happening on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Taker would be randomly turning up on Raw and feuding with Jeff Hardy or Tommy Dreamer. You're like, what the fuck?
What are we doing?
The big Taker stuff seemed to happen on SmackDown. So, but I mean, you had Taker on both shows killing it. It was fun times. Fat Dyke, Raw didn't start to pick up until Goldberg debuted it.
Come on, Fat Dyke, you're talking pish.
I don't know, man. I kind of like Raw before Goldberg. Fido, only because I look forward to seeing Jeff Hardy on Raw.
Jeff Hardy ladder match against Undertaker.
Beer Guy, SmackDown in the 2000s was the A show. I mean, it wasn't. WWE never viewed it as the A show. I mean, you can think it was a better show by all means, but I wouldn't say...
I think the only year it's got a claim to fame is 2002, and we've voted it for Raw. Anyway.
Probably. Onura Awesome says SmackDown Raw was good, but SmackDown was on another level. Fair enough. Loto Kiba says Raw was not as good in 2002, as in comparison to what year? Don't really know. Kadeem, Raw unfortunately just can't cut the mustard when it comes to SmackDown's rising stars in 2002. The draft did absolutely nothing for Raw because of the infamous Triple H Reign of Terror error that hurt Raw's ratings. I mean, there's a lot of hate here for Raw, but I mean, I think Raw, Bischoff, no doubt. Like, if you put Bischoff on SmackDown and you put Jim Ross and JR on SmackDown, I'm not going to sit here and say that Raw is still the better show.
Yeah, but right, see Triple H, right? Let's just actually bear in mind what Triple H did. So Triple H held the belt from Mania to Backlash, but that wasn't really. It was brand split, but it was just the beginning. He then got awarded it at the end of August and lost it midway through November to win it back at the end of December for like a week or two.
Yeah,
That's not a reign of terror, man.
Why does no one praise the Triple H Shawn Michaels feud?
Yeah, like the Shawn Michaels Triple H feud, in my opinion, triumphs. Like him holding the belt in 2002. Like Shawn Michaels Triple H, they don't really feud in 2003.
No, so
it's more like 2002, and then they obviously there's a few things they interact in, so to speak, in 2003.
Gary Brown says overall SmackDown kicks Monday Night Raw's assets, and
that's it.
That's it, really. So there's
got SmackDown love.
Yeah, love for SmackDown in the comments, but Raw just edging it here in the votes. I'll accept that I can see why people prefer SmackDown, because I think it offered something different to Raw, but for me, I preferred Raw. It felt like the edgier show. It felt like the entertainment-focused show, and SmackDown did feel more like the wrestling-heavy show, at least towards the end of the year, the second half of the year. I think the first half of the year, there wasn't that much of a difference, but I would say SmackDown was the better show in the first half of the year.
Yep.
I remember like when the
McMahon was on SmackDown a lot.
McMahon was on SmackDown a lot. The Edge Angle feud on SmackDown I thought was great.
I think 2003 McMahon's on SmackDown a lot more. So, yep, sat going, getting battered by Brock.
Can't wait to see it. Anyway, guys, that is it. We'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.